Every day, millions of people take supplements like magnesium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, often with the best intentions. We've been told they support our bones, boost our immune system, improve sleep, and reduce inflammation. And that's largely true. But here's what most people don't know. The way you combine these nutrients and the timing and context in which you take them can either unlock profound benefits or quietly sabotage your health. For example, magnesium is essential for over 300 enzymatic processes in your body, including ATP production, muscle contraction, and neurotransmitter regulation. But if taken at the wrong time or without balancing cofactors like vitamin B6, it may disrupt your sleep, blunt your alertness, or lead to digestive issues. Or consider vitamin D3. It's often called a vitamin, but it's actually a steroid hormone precursor that modulates over 1,000 genes. Low levels are linked to depression, muscle weakness, and chronic inflammation. But did you know that taking high doses without sufficient vitamin K2 can increase the risk of arterial calcification, meaning calcium builds up in your blood vessels instead of your bones? Here's the bigger point. Supplements are they're biochemical inputs that interact with your brain, hormones, and cellular machinery, often in complex ways. And that means we need to stop thinking of them like magic pills and start treating them like precision tools. In today's episode, I want to give you a neuroscience and physiology-based roadmap for how to safely and effectively use magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2. We'll explore why some people actually feel worse when they start these supplements, and how to fix that, the hidden nutrient dependencies that make or break their effectiveness, and most importantly, how to structure your intake based on your brain's circadian biology, your stress levels, and even your digestive timing. This isn't about fear, it's about precision. Because when you understand how these nutrients work together and what your body actually needs, you stop wasting money and start unlocking the cognitive clarity, emotional stability, and physical vitality you were after in the first place. So if you've ever taken magnesium and still felt anxious, or taken vitamin D3 daily but felt no real difference, stay with me. The science is clear and the tools are simple. Let's dive in. Let's begin with one of the most misunderstood truths in nutrition science. Vitamins and minerals don't work in isolation. They operate in dynamic networks, interdependent, often cooperative, but sometimes competitive. Take magnesium and vitamin D3. Both are critical for optimal health, but what many people don't realize is this. You need magnesium to activate vitamin D. Specifically, magnesium acts as a cofactor in the enzymatic conversion of vitamin D3 into its biologically active form, calcitriol. In fact, a 2018 randomized clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that without sufficient magnesium, vitamin D supplementation doesn't significantly raise blood levels of active vitamin D. So if you're taking high doses of D3 but feeling no change, this may be the missing link. But the synergy doesn't stop there. Enter vitamin K2. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium from food, but K2 determines where that calcium ends up. Without enough K2, the calcium mobilized by vitamin D may be deposited in the arteries rather than in your bones or teeth. This is where things can get dangerous. A 2015 review in Integrative Medicine noted that high-dose vitamin D supplementation, when not balanced by K2, can lead to hypercalcemia, elevated calcium in the blood, which is linked to arterial stiffness, kidney stones, and even heart disease. So while you might be trying to support your bone health, you could unintentionally be hardening your arteries, all because one essential piece of the puzzle is missing. And that's not fear-mongering, it's biochemical reality. The good news is these nutrients don't just need each other, they amplify each other. Magnesium calms the nervous system. D3 boosts immunity and cognition. K2 directs calcium into bones. When they're taken together in the right proportions, they function like a finely tuned symphony. But here's where people often go wrong. Taking D3 without magnesium can create subtle anxiety, restlessness, or even fatigue because you're accelerating calcium metabolism without the calming effect of magnesium. Taking magnesium alone may lead to sluggish results because you're not pairing it with D3 and B6, which support uptake and utilization. Taking K2 in isolation, especially without D3, offers limited benefits for bone health or vascular protection. So what's the takeaway? Supplements are system-level inputs. If you isolate them, you break the system. If you combine them wisely, you strengthen it. A simple rule to apply is this. Whenever you take vitamin D3, always pair it with magnesium and K2, and ideally, make sure your magnesium supplement includes both glycinate and malate, forms that are bioavailable and supportive of the nervous system. We'll get into precise protocols later, but for now, reflect on this. Have you been taking D3 solo without checking your magnesium intake? Or trying to feel better with magnesium but still feeling fatigued or tense? If so, your body might be telling you something. Not that the supplement is wrong, but that the system is out of balance. Up next, we'll look at the role of circadian timing and how your internal clock determines whether these nutrients support energy, sleep, or both. Most people think that vitamins and minerals are just nutrients, neutral, passive substances that float through your body doing their job. But here's the reality. Supplements interact with your circadian biology, your body's 24-hour internal clock. And that interaction can change everything. Let's take magnesium. It's often called nature's chill pill because it supports GABA activity, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. It also helps regulate melatonin production, which is critical for sleep onset. But here's the paradox. Take magnesium too early in the day, and it may blunt your alertness and motivation. Take it too late, especially if your digestion is sluggish or you're using certain forms like magnesium citrate, and it could cause GI issues or frequent nighttime awakenings. So what does the science say? According to a 2021 study in Nutrients, magnesium levels in the brain naturally rise in the evening, peaking during sleep. This isn't a coincidence. It's part of your brain's wind-down chemistry. That means the ideal time to supplement magnesium is roughly 60 to 90 minutes before bed, but only if it's a calming form like magnesium glycinate or threonate. Vitamin D3, on the other hand, is entirely different. Vitamin D is not a night supplement. It behaves more like a hormone, and it has strong interactions with cortisol, the alertness hormone that spikes in the early morning. In fact, a 2016 study in Chronobiology International found that taking vitamin D3 in the morning enhances wakefulness and mood, while taking it at night can disrupt melatonin release and delay sleep onset. So if you're taking vitamin D3 with dinner or before bed, thinking it will rebuild your body overnight, you may unknowingly be telling your brain it's time to wake up. Here's a simple timing protocol you can implement. Vitamin D3, take with your first meal of the day, ideally within 1-2 hours of waking. Pair it with healthy fats for absorption, something like eggs, avocado, or olive oil. Magnesium, take 60 to 90 minutes before bed, ideally on a relatively empty stomach. Go for glycinate or threonate to support calmness, memory consolidation, and muscle relaxation. Vitamin K2. This one's flexible, but best taken with your vitamin D3 and food, since it's fat-soluble and needs dietary fat for absorption. Let me ask you this. Have you ever taken magnesium during the day and felt inexplicably tired or foggy, or taken vitamin D3 in the evening and had restless sleep or vivid dreams? If so, it's likely not the supplement that's the problem. It's the timing. Your body is not a machine that processes inputs the same way at all hours. It's a dynamic, rhythmic organism that cycles through peaks of alertness, calm, repair, and renewal every 24 hours. When you align your supplements to those natural rhythms, they work better, and you feel the difference. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. My goal is to help you make science work for your biology, not against it. Next, we'll dive into a layer most people overlook entirely, the role of nutrient cofactors like B6, zinc, and boron, and why your magnesium or vitamin D might be underperforming without them. If you've ever taken a supplement and thought, why don't I feel anything? The answer might lie in what's missing, not what's included. That's where cofactors come in. Cofactors are like ignition keys. They don't do the job directly, but they're essential to starting the engine, enabling your enzymes, receptors, and transport proteins to actually use the nutrients you're giving them. Let's start with magnesium. Magnesium isn't just floating around in your system doing its thing. For your body to absorb and retain magnesium, especially in the nervous system, it needs the support of vitamin B6. A 2011 review in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition found that vitamin B6 significantly enhances magnesium uptake into cells, particularly in brain tissue. Without enough B6, you could be taking 400 milligrams of magnesium daily and still experiencing muscle cramps, irritability, or poor sleep. Now, let's look at vitamin D3. You might know it helps with calcium absorption, but that's just the start. Vitamin D's biological activity depends on boron and magnesium for conversion and receptor function. Boron, for instance, has been shown in studies, e.g. Biological Trace Element Research, 1997, to stabilize vitamin D3 levels and extend its half-life in the bloodstream. Think about that. You could be taking 2,000 IU of vitamin D daily, but if you're deficient in boron, often due to low intake of fruits, leafy greens, and nuts, your levels might stay flat or even drop. Now, zinc. Zinc works in tandem with both D3 and magnesium to support immune function, gene expression, and neurotransmitter balance, but it also competes with magnesium for absorption if taken in high doses. Another reason why balance matters. So here's a practical framework you can use. Magnesium works better with B6. Vitamin D3 works better with boron. All three, D3, magnesium, and K2, benefit from balanced zinc levels. If you're not sure whether you're getting enough of these cofactors, here are a few signs. You've taken magnesium for weeks but still feel tense or twitchy. D3 isn't raising your blood levels despite daily dosing. You're tired in the morning, wired at night, and digestion feels off. These may indicate your cofactors are low and your body is stuck in input without output mode. Here's a simple fix. Add a B complex that includes active B6, look for P5P in the morning, with breakfast. Eat a serving of boron-rich foods daily, like prunes, almonds, or raisins. Or consider a low-dose boron supplement, 1,3 mg. Ensure your zinc intake is in the 10-15 minimum day/day range, ideally from whole foods like pumpkin seeds, seafood, or grass-fed meats. Supplements don't work in silos. They're part of a biological network. And just like you wouldn't build a house with only bricks and no mortar, you can't build lasting health without these critical support players. When you stack your nutrients with the right cofactors, you don't just take a supplement, you activate it. In the next section, we'll go deeper into the digestive system and why your gut health may be silently limiting how much magnesium, D3, and K2 your body actually absorbs. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about where the real work of nutrient absorption begins, your gut. It's easy to assume that once you swallow a supplement, it gets absorbed and used. But in reality, your digestive system is the gatekeeper, and whether nutrients actually make it into your bloodstream depends on the health of your gut lining, stomach acid, and microbiome. Let's start with magnesium. Magnesium is absorbed primarily in the small intestine, but its absorption rate can vary wildly depending on gut health and the form you take. For example, magnesium oxide, a common cheap form, has an absorption rate of only about 4%. That means if you're taking 400 mg, you're only getting 16 mg into your system. But even high-quality forms like glycinate or citrate can be wasted if your gut lining is inflamed or compromised. Research published in Frontiers in Medicine 2020 showed that intestinal permeability, or leaky gut, significantly reduces mineral absorption, especially magnesium and zinc. This is often driven by chronic stress, a low-fiber diet, processed foods, or overuse of NSAIDs like ibuprofen. And now vitamin D. Here's something most people don't know. Vitamin D3 is fat-soluble, meaning it requires dietary fat and proper bile production for absorption. If your gallbladder is sluggish or your liver is under stress, your ability to absorb vitamin D from supplements or sunlight conversion drops dramatically. A 2013 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people with fat malabsorption syndromes, such as IBS, Crohn's, or even subclinical gallbladder issues, often have chronically low vitamin D levels despite supplementation. And then there's the microbiome, the trillions of bacteria in your gut. It turns out certain strains of gut bacteria are directly involved in the metabolism of vitamin K2. In fact, your gut flora can produce vitamin K2, but only when the ecosystem is healthy. Overgrowth of pathogenic strains, a lack of diversity, or recent antibiotic use can reduce K2 production and impair absorption from food or supplements. So here's the bottom line. You're not just feeding you, you're feeding your gut ecosystem. And if that ecosystem is damaged, even the best supplements can go to waste. Here are 3 powerful tools you can apply. Eat fermented foods like kefir, sauerkraut, or kimchi several times a week. They support bacterial diversity and K2 production. Use magnesium glycinate or threonate, which are gentler on the gut lining and better absorbed. Avoid magnesium oxide. Take your vitamin D3 and K2 with a fat-inhibiting meal, avocado, olive oil, or pasture-raised eggs, to support bioavailability. And remember, if you're experiencing frequent bloating, irregular digestion, or skin issues, it may be your gut telling you that absorption is compromised. The solution isn't to take more supplements, it's to optimize the terrain they're being absorbed in. If this content is bringing you clarity, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is dedicated to helping you make real, sustainable upgrades, not through hacks, but through understanding how your biology really works. Coming up next, we'll explore a fascinating piece of the puzzle: how your genes influence your response to these nutrients, and why what works for others might backfire for you. Have you ever followed a supplement protocol that worked wonders for someone else, but left you feeling anxious, foggy, or even worse than before? This isn't just anecdotal. It's a reflection of your genetic individuality. Let's begin with magnesium. Magnesium relies on several genes to get absorbed and transported into your cells, and one of the most critical is TRPM6. This gene codes for a channel that controls how much magnesium is pulled from your gut into your bloodstream. Now here's the catch. A variation in the TRPM6 gene, found in a significant portion of the population, can make it harder for your body to absorb magnesium efficiently. That means even if you're taking what seems like a standard dose, you might still be functionally deficient. This is where dosage sensitivity becomes crucial. If you push too high, say over 500 milligrams/day, without proper absorption or cellular uptake, you could experience diarrhea, dizziness, or fatigue. These symptoms aren't side effects of magnesium itself. They're signs your body can't handle that dose all at once. Let's move to vitamin D3. The key gene here is VDR, the vitamin D receptor gene. This gene determines how sensitive your cells are to vitamin D and how effectively you respond to supplementation. If you carry certain polymorphisms in the VDR gene, your body may need higher or lower doses of vitamin D to achieve the same biological effects as someone else. One person might thrive on 2,000 IU/day, while another needs 5,000 IU just to maintain basic mood or immune function. But here's where it gets tricky. Oversupplementing vitamin D3 when you have poor vitamin A or magnesium status can tip the balance, leading to symptoms like irritability, insomnia, or tight muscles. That's because vitamin D influences calcium metabolism, which in turn affects neuromuscular activity. And magnesium buffers that entire process. So you can start to see how your genes shape your biochemical set point and why a one-size-fits-all supplement dose is often a mistake. Now, vitamin K2 is less studied genetically, but emerging research suggests that gut microbiome genes, which you inherit in part from your mother, can affect how much K2 your bacteria produce. So if your gut flora is disrupted or your inherited strains are weak K2 producers, you may need more from food or supplements. Here's a practical way to work with your biology. Start with lower doses and increase gradually. watching how your sleep, mood, and digestion respond. Get a basic genetics panel if you're struggling to make progress. Platforms like 23andMe or Genova can give clues about VDR or TRPM6. Use lab tests to guide you. Serum magnesium 25OH HD and even calcium levels can reveal your status far more accurately than guesswork. And if testing isn't available to you, let your symptoms be your guide. If magnesium makes you groggy or nauseous, lower the dose or switch forms. If vitamin D makes you restless or anxious, check your magnesium intake first. If K2 causes no noticeable effect, it may be because your D3 or fat intake is too low for it to be used properly. Supplements are not magic pills. They are tools, and tools only work when they fit the blueprint of your body. Once you stop comparing your body to others and start responding to your own signals, supplementation becomes intelligent, not random. In the next section, we'll bring it all together with a practical, science-backed daily protocol so you know exactly what to take, when, and how for optimal synergy and safety. You've seen the science, you've heard the risks of imbalance and the power of synergy. Now it's time to bring everything together into a clear, actionable protocol you can apply starting today. Let's begin with the core principle. Supplementation should mirror biology, not override it. That means aligning with your circadian rhythm, supporting your digestive system, and dosing in a way that respects your body's thresholds and feedback signals. Morning routine, support energy, immunity, and focus. Take with or shortly after breakfast vitamin D 3,000 to 2,000 IU or up to 4,000 IU based on blood levels and sun exposure. Why? This aligns with your body's natural cortisol spike and enhances alertness, mood, and immune readiness with food that includes fat, like eggs, avocado, nuts, or olive oil. Vitamin K2, MK7, 9,200 milligrams. Why? To ensure calcium mobilized by D3 is directed to bones, not arteries. Taken with D3 enhances synergistic absorption. Boron, 13 mg, optional. Why? Supports vitamin D metabolism and hormonal balance. B complex with active B6, MK5. Why? Enhances magnesium absorption later in the day and supports brain function. Note, if you experience jitteriness or restlessness with D3, it could mean magnesium is too low or you need a smaller dose. Evening routine. Support calm, recovery, and sleep. Take 60-90 minutes before bed on a mostly empty stomach. Magnesium glycinate or threonate, 200-400 milligrams elemental magnesium. Why? Supports GABA activity, muscle relaxation, and deep sleep. Glycinate is calming and gut-friendly. Threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier and supports memory. If prone to loose stools, start with a lower dose and gradually increase. Zinc, 10 to 15 milligrams, optional, not daily. Why? Supports nervous system repair and balances magnesium. Take every other day or with food to avoid nausea. Bonus enhancements based on needs, digestive enzyme or ox bile supplement with D3 meal if you have low stomach acid or no gallbladder. Fermented foods 2-3x per week, sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir to support natural K2 production and microbiome diversity. Magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, seeds, and legumes. Always pair food and supplements for real synergy. Here's what the research and experience consistently show. When you take magnesium at night, D3 and K2 in the morning, and support your gut with the right cofactors and timing, you sleep deeper, wake clearer, and build more resilience across your day. You stop chasing symptoms and start creating stability. So I'll ask you this, which of these small adjustments can you implement tonight? Not someday, not next week, but now. Because real health isn't about radical overhauls. It's about tiny refinements that work with your biology, not against it. And if this episode helped clarify something for you, I'd love for you to be part of this growing community. Like, subscribe, or drop a comment below sharing your experience. It not only helps others, it helps us all grow smarter together. Next, I'll bring it all home in the conclusion, summarizing the tools we've explored and issuing a direct, empowering challenge for real-world action. Let's take a moment to zoom out and really understand what we've uncovered here. Most people treat supplements like a checklist. Take vitamin D, magnesium, maybe some K2 if they've heard about it. But as you now know, this approach misses the most important truth. These nutrients operate as part of a biological system, and systems only work when the parts are connected, coordinated, and aligned with your physiology. We started with the insight that magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2 are deeply interdependent. Magnesium helps convert vitamin D into its active form. Vitamin D3 mobilizes calcium. K2 makes sure that calcium ends up where it belongs, in your bones, not your arteries. Then we examine timing. When you take these nutrients matters. D3 aligns with your brain's daylight chemistry and should be taken early in the day. Magnesium mirrors your brain's sleep rhythm and works best in the evening. K2 pairs with D3, ideally with a fat-humming meal. We uncovered the power of cofactors like B6, boron, and zinc, which act as molecular helpers that unlock the full effectiveness of your supplements. Without them, you may be underdosing, over-supplementing, or simply wasting effort. And we talked about absorption, your gut health, the integrity of your lining, the balance of your microbiome, and your digestive enzymes determines how much of these nutrients ever reach your bloodstream. A compromised gut can block the very nutrients you're counting on. Then we dove into genetics and individual variability. Your DNA, including genes like TRPM6 and VDR, can change how your body responds to magnesium or vitamin D. That means your ideal dose is yours, and tuning into your body's feedback is critical. And finally, we put it all together with a practical, daily protocol, simple, flexible, and grounded in neuroscience. D3 and K2 with your first meal, magnesium, 60 to 90 minutes before bed, all supported by a foundation of whole foods, gut health, and smart cofactor use. So what now? If you take away just one idea from this episode, let it be this: precision matters. Health is not about doing more. It's about doing what works for you in a way that aligns with your biology. When you begin to supplement with understanding, not guesswork, you feel the difference. You don't just sleep better, you recover faster, you think clearer, you move through your day with more calm, more control, and more energy that lasts. That's not hype. That's what happens when biology is supported, not disrupted. So here's your challenge for today. Pick one of these tools. Maybe it's shifting the timing of your magnesium or adding a little boron to your D3 routine, and implement it tonight. Not later, tonight. Watch how your body responds over the next 7 days. Let your biology teach you what works. And if this episode brought you insight, clarity, or momentum, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's taking supplements but still struggling. This community is about growing smarter together with science, not guesswork. Your health is your most powerful asset. Learn it, respect it, optimize it. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay curious.